Hello and welcome to the Daily Royal. My name is Shelby and I have been a royal watcher for the past 10 years. In this podcast, I talk about the daily events of 7 of the European monarchies. So I talk about Belgium, the UK, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, and Sweden. I upload Monday through Friday with occasional bonus episodes here and there. Today we are going to be talking about all of the events from Thursday, June 17th of 2021. You guys, I think we made it through the week with no major day misses. I think we made it. It was a little touch and go yesterday. I was feeling very tired. I was just really not feeling good yesterday. And but I got up and I recorded. I didn't post on Instagram till this afternoon, but I did everything else. So, that's awesome. So we made it through the week. I'm pretty impressed. I was a little unsure how this week would go. If you remember a little while ago, I was talking about how things would kind of be consistently changing for basically the whole summer. Something big is happening every couple of weeks that changes my routine and my schedule. And this week was one of those weeks where my routine and my schedule were changing. And so, but we made it. We made it through this week, which I'm very pleased about. So, also, last week was just really stressful with stuff going on behind the scenes in terms of, potentially, and then ultimately switching podcast hosts and uploading to YouTube and all of it. But we made it through. Videos are now regularly being published to YouTube. It's going well, thank gosh. Because, yikes, I was concerned. So, today we're going to talk about the Euro Cup game between Belgium and Denmark. So today, King Philippe of Belgium traveled to Denmark to attend the football game between Belgium and Denmark, and also attending the game were Crown Prince Frederik, Crown Princess Mary, Prince Christian, as well as Crown Prince Frederik's nephews, so his brother Prince Joachim's oldest sons. He has 4 children in total, and 2 of them live in Denmark. Prince Joachim and his family, his younger 2 children and wife, live in France right now. But Prince Felix and Prince Nikolai were also at the game with Christian and Frederick and Mary. And so, it was really great. It was really interesting. So, if you've been listening over the past couple weeks, it seems that I have become a football fan. I'm not sure when this happened. I knew it was a potential after I watched the Spain-Portugal friendly game for their or World Cup bid launch. I knew it was a potential because it seemed really fun. I didn't really know it would become a thing that I was doing every day, but it seems to be at the moment. So today, I watched this game, and it was really interesting because for those who don't pay attention or haven't listened to an episode before, where I've talked about it, a Danish player during Saturday's game had a cardiac event. His heart stopped, and on the pitch, on the field, in the middle of the game between Denmark and Finland, minute 43 or something, so about halfway through the game. So his heart stopped, he was given CPR, he was revived, it seems very quickly, and but nonetheless, it was traumatic, and it has kind of been, especially for Danish people, it's been a really hard time. And for the players of the Denmark team, they had to stand in a circle protecting Christian Eriksen. I always forget his name when I need to remember it, but it's Christian Eriksen, and they had to stand around to form a barrier so cameras couldn't see what was going on, and watch as their friend and teammate was given CPR, and defibrillated and all of the things. And so there is a level of trauma that comes with that. And so that's been kind of like a defining piece for the Danes in the past couple of days. And watching this match was so interesting. It was so, not emotional, but like, it was very much not like a competitive game in any sense. It was very much a coming together kind of game. And then the Danes come out and, like, one of the fastest goals in the history of Euro Cup, make a goal in 99 seconds. It was like less than a minute and a half, or maybe it was just over a minute and a half, but it was crazy. So in the first 2 minutes, they get a goal. That is the only goal they got, and Belgium did end up winning. But it was a very, the stadium was packed as it can be during COVID. It was very loud, and it was just like an emotional return in terms of like suffering that kind of trauma. Was definitely talked about. So it was great. Look, the main goal, like the main point of talking about this is really like, yes, the Royals are there, and like that's why I want to talk about it. That's why I do talk about it. And if they weren't there, I probably would have never become whatever I am of football right now. I'm still not sure if we're going with fan. I think we probably are, but I'm still not convinced. We'll see how the rest of the Euro tournament goes for me. But it's just been very interesting to watch, and like I'm really glad that the Royals are going. And also it was kind of awesome. So King Philippe was only in Denmark for the game. Like, he arrived maybe an hour before the game and then left shortly after. He and Frederick did take a couple of pictures together. They were seated near each other. Of course, there was like a 2-seat barrier between the two, but they were still like, they would chat every now and then. So they were next to each other during the whole game, and that was really cool. And it was just like a reminder of how things could be if we weren't living in a pandemic, and like how things are going to be at some point again soon. So that was just really great. So that is my conversation about the Euro Cup. And so with that, we are going to go ahead now and move on to the British royal family, because we've already talked about Belgium's event. There was just one public event in the UK today. So today the Prince of Wales visited the NHS hospital in Chelsea and Westminster, which are neighborhoods in London that are very close to each other, Chelsea and Westminster. Westminster is obviously where like Westminster Abbey is. It's also where the House of Lords and Big Ben are. It's one of the neighborhoods I'm looking at staying in when I go for the Jubilee next year, because it's centrally located to most of the things I'm going to be at. I'm also looking to stay maybe closer to Buckingham, but also probably should book things rapidly. I'm just waiting on my passport to come back, and then I'll start really planning for this trip. Also, it's a year away, but I'm a planning kind of person, so like I want to have a lot of it figured out before the new year. Not all of it, but like at least where I'm going to stay. And what I'll be able to work in terms of sightseeing, which I don't think will be much, but that's okay. So he was there to visit. They were a partnership program between the Prince's Trust and NHS to give young people access to employment, especially in the pandemic world. So they did a partnership for vaccine rollouts. And so some of these young people that work with the Prince's Trust for help in finding income and employment took part in the launch for vaccine rollouts. So that was really cool. He also got a tour of the hospital. And this hospital was really cool in that it has like a movie theater for patients and their relatives to go like chillax in. So that's kind of cool. So that's what was going on publicly. There is something pretty big, and I am going to talk about it, even though technically it's not tomorrow for me. It is tomorrow in the UK, and I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about it, but I'm just deciding I am, because I'm not going to record another podcast until Sunday night, and I want to talk about it before then. So, today, the Duchess, technically tomorrow, but that's weird. So the day you're listening to this, today, the Duchess of Cambridge launched this big project that she has been working on. And so it was known that it was going to be focused on the early years that she has been working on for, I guess, a decade. Which is true. It has been a decade. It's just kind of taken on various forms. And so today was the official announcement, and it was announced that the Duchess of Cambridge will launch the Center for Early Childhood, which is going to be a research-based organization to help spread awareness for how much the first 5 years of life can impact a child throughout their entire lives. So this all kind of started when the Duchess of Cambridge came into the picture. So like when she and Will got married, the things that they each kind of had, and at this time the now Duke of Sussex was also involved in all of this, all kind of centered around mental health. So like William did a lot of work with homelessness, and Harry did a lot of work with soldiers and veterans, and Kate was coming into this doing different kinds of work as well, that all seemed to then come together with this mental health idea. And then the more and more she dug into it, the more she and others around her realized how much of an impact the first 5 years in a child's development can impact their mental health for years and years to come. Not always, but most of the time that is the case. And so she has been working on this project behind the scenes. Last year, so early in 2020, pre-pandemic, she launched this survey called, I think it was the 5 Big Questions, that were really focused on early childhood care and like what people needed to know. And so the center is going to be based at Kensington Palace. There's so far a 6-member team working in 3 key areas. So research, development, so developing new solutions with public and private voluntary sectors, and then marketing to raise awareness for a lot of the things that come out of the center. So it's, I don't want to call it a think tank, but it has that kind of idea where it's a research center, and then those ideas are going to be communicated. And so this is a huge thing. One, because it has a global name attached to it. 2, it's not a completely unknown field. Like, there is a lot of research in this field, but there isn't a lot of publicity for this kind of research because it's not, like, super fascinating, and not everyone has little children, and so it doesn't, like, mass reach, but it will now. And so it's just a very big project, and it's amazing. And so I had read some comparisons to, like, how it's going to be as big as Williams' Earthshot, and I think it is, if not bigger, because it's, like, a smaller... It's a long game, and for the Earthshot, there isn't time for it to be a long game. Like, climate change is necessary yesterday, so there's not time. But in this case, there is time, and so it's a long game. So I think it's going to be just as impactful. It's just not as big at the launch, and it's not as fast-paced because it doesn't need to be. So I think it's going to play the long game. She's going to be doing this for years, and it will continue, right? So I think it's just a really fantastic thing. I'm super excited about it. There are still details, like, incoming. So it is almost 1 a.m. in the UK now. Things were embargoed till midnight. And so there will be more to come in the coming days. I'm sure we'll talk about it more on Monday, but I wanted to, like, talk about the big part of the announcement today. So that also happened, which is a huge deal. And then I will go ahead and pull up the court circular as well for today. So at Clarence House, the Prince of Wales, president of the Prince's Trust, visited the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. We talked about that. Oh, this is interesting. His Royal Highness later received the High Commissioner for Canada, and then afterwards received the Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Bahrain. I have questions that are not answered in the court circular. I have questions. Okay, so anyway, that is what was going on in the UK. We are skipping Denmark because we already talked about it. So now let's go on to the Dutch royal family. In the Netherlands today, there were actually quite a few events, but there wasn't, like, I didn't do a ton of background research. That is the one thing that has kind of lacked this week, as my routine and schedule are changing, is the past couple weeks I had a lot of time to dedicate to the podcast, and I still have a ton of time, just not as much. Like, I dropped probably 2 or 3 hours of time that I had been spending on the podcast during the day to do other things, and which is fine, but for certain things I just haven't been able to do a ton of research, which is a sad thing. It'll come back when I get used to my new schedule and new routine. Just right now it's not where it needs to be. So I didn't get to do a ton of research on the one event that I really wanted to do a ton of research on, but we'll talk about the events nonetheless. So today, King Willem-Alexander first opened the exhibit for the Golden Carriage, which is going to be held in the Museum of Amsterdam. And so he was able to tour the exhibit. I'm not sure, from the pictures I've seen, I'm not sure if he gave a speech or just like officially opened it. Like, I'm not sure what happened around there. But it doesn't, like, it does matter. I wish I knew. But still, it was very cool. And so the Golden Carriage, I'm not sure if this is the Golden Carriage. I think it is. It has been under restoration for like 5 years. The royal family uses it at least once a year for it's called, I think it's called Prince's Day, but it's also like it's budget day. It's opening of the Parliament season, is what it really is. And they will typically ride in the Golden Carriage. So King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima will typically ride in the Golden Carriage. Last year, it just kind of worked out that, like, the main part of the restoration that was leaving it unserviceable was happening. And it was also a pandemic, so it was a less crowded budget day. So they took a car last year. So I'm not entirely sure. There are some things that I have read about the Golden Carriage maybe not being used anymore, because there are some racist depictions on it that, like, are pro-colonization and, like, should not exist. But we'll see. And so that was his first event. And then also today, King Willem-Alexander visited, a part of the Hague that won the most beautiful orange street competition, which was a campaign that was hosted to encourage community involvement during the Euro Cup. So this is similar to Crown Princess Mary's, like, her foundation, that is hosting, like, Euro Cup parties for neighborhoods, and providing tools and resources for communities to come together in a safe way, but also a celebratory way, to mark the end-ish of the pandemic. And so this is something that also is happening in the Netherlands, and so King Willem-Alexander today visited that street, which is very orange. Very orange. And ahead of the match between the Netherlands and Austria, I think is who they played. I also think they beat Austria. I watched most of the game, and then I got bored at, like, 86 minutes. And for those who don't know, a soccer match is, like, 90 plus some. And I got bored at 86, and, like, when I went back to check, it was over, because they must not have had a lot of extra play. But I'm confident that the Netherlands won, but I'll go ahead and look. But King Willem-Alexander did not go to the game, but he did take part in this visit. Okay, so yes, they did win. It was 2-0 Netherlands. So that is cool. I think that means they have a guaranteed spot in the round of 16. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it all out. But anyway, that's what was going on with King Willem-Alexander. And then today, Queen Maxima took part in a digital working visit to the Ivory Coast, as part of her role as the UN Secretary General's Special Advocate for Financial Inclusion and Development. So not a whole ton of detail on that. This is something that if we weren't living in the middle of a global pandemic, she probably would have gone to the Ivory Coast for, like, a couple of days, but pandemic. And so that is what was going on in the Netherlands today. So now let's go ahead and move on to Norway. In continuing their trip along western Norway's coast, today King Harald and Queen Sonja visited the municipality of Floro, maybe? That's how I'm choosing to say it. It's probably not the correct pronunciation. But this was their last day of their tour. It's unclear if this will happen again throughout the summer. They haven't made any announcements to my knowledge yet. but we'll see. So today they took part in a couple of different things. They, of course, continued conversations with government officials about the effects of the pandemic. They also visited a culture house where they saw a small excerpt performance of a show called Kinesplit, which has been playing at this culture house nonstop, like for 35 years. Like they're always having a performance go. In March of last year, so pandemic, is the first time that it had not been done in that time frame. So it's a big deal that it's coming back. And then it was very rainy this day, so I don't know if they had any like outdoor events or anything planned, but they ended up doing like a car tour of the city, which is something they have been doing for National Day for the past couple years, or May 17th. I call it National Day because that's kind of like the easiest thing to call it. I know that's not the correct term. I think it's Constitution Day in Norway, but I call it National Day. I'm sorry. And it's basically a safe way to like go out and meet people, but also not expose yourself or others to COVID. And it's rainy, so like it was very rainy and wet. So let's keep everyone very safe and contained in a car. So that marked the end of this visit. It has been really wonderful. I do wish there were some more like detailed accounts, and I just haven't really seen any. And again, like today specifically, I haven't looked that hard, but earlier in the week I was looking pretty extensively, and there just weren't any, because I was looking to add video clips to the YouTube, which still super promoting. This week I haven't been able to add too much video in, so I'm thinking like Monday and Tuesday episodes will probably always have video because those are my days where I have more time. And then I'm still not sure what I'm gonna do from the rest. We'll see. It's still something I'm playing with and figuring out how to fit into my schedule. But I was looking for clips to put in this, and I just couldn't find any other than an interview, which would be fine, except I don't know Norwegian enough to like caption said video. And it doesn't work because I talk over the video, and so that didn't make sense to me, which was sad, but it's fine. So I'm hoping like some more detailed coverage. I wish there were some more detailed coverage, but it's okay that there wasn't. So anyway, that is what was going on in Norway. So now we are going to move on to the Spanish royal family. It has been a crazy week in Spain. Like, it's crazy, and there's still an event tomorrow. King Felipe has been going every day since Sunday. I kid you not. He has had something every day since Sunday, and has stuff tomorrow. Or at least one thing. But, what a better way to mark your 7 years as king. So today, he met with the winners of a competition called, this is the English name for the competition, but What is a King to You? And it's a competition for students throughout Spain, so in every single autonomous community and the 2 autonomous cities, in whatever form of creativity they choose to express, will share what they think the role of now King Felipe, but also the role of the crown in Spain is. And so it's a really cool event that engages young people, very young children, all the way up to like probably grade 3, 4 in secondary school. I'm really not sure if it would include 4th year ESOs, but definitely a wide range of ages for them to relate to the institution of the monarchy, which I think is really critical to understand your government's functions. So I'm not sure if it's called this everywhere, but civil engagement, understanding of civics in the US is horrible. People just don't understand government, and I don't think it's what makes our government and our country so radical and crazy right now. But it certainly doesn't help when you have a large group of people who fundamentally don't understand how your government works. And so I think that it's really important that that's taught in the US, but also in every country. Understand your government from a young age. And this is something that Spain is good and bad at. So Spain doesn't really do a great job of teaching Spanish history in terms of Franco era to democracy and Civil War and all of that. And this is not done through the Ministry of Education. This program, this competition, this is done by an outside foundation, and schools can choose to participate or not. But it is a way to allow children to relate with their government institution of the monarchy and the crown. And I think for the winners, how cool is it? I would think, right? Me, who talks about these people every day. But to then get to talk to the king about his role and have a conversation about him with him, and his role. And, I think that's the thing, right? The institution of the monarchy is not just one person. It outlives, it continues through that person. Spain is not a super great example of this yet, but will be, hopefully. But not for me to say. I'm not Spanish. I'm not a Spaniard, so I don't get a say in whether their monarchy continues or not. I would like to see it continue, is all I'm saying. Or at least be given a good chance, not just less than 50 years. Because I think it could be a really stabilizing thing for them. And so I just think the importance of the institution and teaching that is really, really critical. So applause all around for that event. And like I said, there will be one event tomorrow. And then maybe this poor king can have a day off or something. I think, I'm not sure when the next Spain Euro game is. It might be Saturday, but so far it's not on his calendar. It doesn't mean it won't show up. But so far it is not. That is also his anniversary of becoming king, on Saturday the 19th, so we'll see. But that is what was going on in Spain. There were a couple of events in Sweden, but again, no write-up other than what I'm literally about to read to you verbatim. So today, King Carl Gustaf and Queen Sylvia held a digital meeting with the chair of the Drottningholm Castle Theatre Foundation. And then Crown Princess Victoria held a digital meeting with a representative of the Foreign Policy Institute. So that's what I know. So that's what was going on in Spain, or in Sweden. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode. I will talk to you all on Monday. Please check out the Instagram this weekend, as I've got a couple of really cool things planned on Instagram stories and also in feeds. And maybe we'll try out some reels this weekend. I don't know. But that's the Daily Royal on Instagram. Please check out the website, thedailyroyal.com, which has pictures and videos from all of these events. It's also a great place to find all the past episodes of this podcast. So please check that out. And with that, I will talk to you all on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye.